Okay, so I know the festive season was long gone. It feels like it ended like centuries ago, and school is back. Yeah, I know. School is back, and back to the runs, back to dropping, picking, emptying pockets to shop and everything. And then also the pressure of it's a new class, a new school, a new settling in. And I wish you all the best, parents. I wish you all the best in whatever venture it is that you're on to. And I hope that the holidays have gone pretty well for you. I hope you and the children have managed to bond, have managed to have time together. I know it's not easy, especially that you're in between chasing for some chums, like we call it. So yes, so I wish you all the best, all the parents that are parents now and future parents. Yeah, I'm talking to all of you. So we're still on Reflections with me, Karitas, letting you into my space, my home. Just to reflect on a life that has been lived and the things that I have seen and learned and just sharing with you. So welcome. Let me have a sip. We're doing water today. We're doing water. I don't know what I'll be doing next week. It tastes very different, but it's healthy for me to drink water. Okay, so far, the discussions we've had, I mean, the feedback that I get from all of you, it's so amazing. And it's something that has shown me that many times people wish they had people they could talk to. Also shows me that these conversations need to happen, not just happening, candidly, as candidly as possible. Let's be honest. Call a spade, not a big spoon. If you are misbehaving, we tell you, bah, kare bah. Get out. I mean, the things that happen in this life, and I feel like, over just because I'm a mother, I just feel like going and hitting the hand. As in, I continue getting amazed and surprised, but hey, I mean, that is life. I don't know what life would be if we didn't have all these things. But again, speaking about life, today, I wanted to speak about something that I know I've faced in my career. I've also faced in life generally, and I'm talking about fears. Fear. Ha. Facing your fears is what we're talking about today. Fear. And when you hear fear, when someone says, if I'm telling them we're talking about fear today, you're like, fear? I don't fear anything. What do you mean fear? Hey mama, but I hope that you're okay and sincere in all that. But away from that, everybody has a right to feel as they feel, or yeah. But today, I wanted us to talk about fear from different angles. I want to talk about it from both the career angle and also my social life. So first of all, what is fear? In a layman's language, if I were to talk about fear, if someone came and asked me what is fear, I'd just say that one thing that holds you rooted, the one feeling or emotion or whatever that holds you rooted in one place, preventing you from going forward in whatever the situation it may be. So let me go back to when I began my career. Now, someone asked me about how I got on TV, but then I've had that question many times. But then, how did you get on it? How did you manage to be on TV? How did you manage to be on screen? Because many people have a phobia for being in front of the camera, and I don't blame them. I mean, everyone has their own fear. Now, I just remembered that when I was going to go on TV, and they just told me, because I told them, they just told me, come and do a screen test. And the screen test involved you going in front of a camera and enacting or doing what they've told you. Now, I want to remind you people, I grew up, in the ghetto. Like, I mean, I don't like using that statement like that, but that's the truth. Meaning, when I put it that way, I want you to just get the whole picture of being there. You're there, your dreams. You literally have to figure out how to dream big and dream out of the ghetto. Your life, the things that happen in your life within that space, how you feed, how you sleep, your surroundings. There's so many things that I felt were to work against me. Because what that does, that type of environment conditions you to feel that that's all you are, that's all you'll ever be. That's the limit of where you'll ever reach. That even if you stretch your hands farther, you may not touch the sky. But I am telling you, look at me now, please. The truth is, fear holds you grounded and rooted in one place, prevents you from taking the next step. But on the other hand, we don't have control over it happening to us, but we have the control to change it. We have the power to control it. We have the power to just change it all around and just face it, and you're able to do what you're supposed to do. So I digressed a bit there. So let's go back to when I was doing my screen test. Now, when they told me that I'm going to do the screen test, of course, coming from my background, I was feeling very timid, insecure, and I was even feeling that I might not be enough. But I don't know what hit me in my mind and just told me, you will never know until you go, until you do it. And also, in my head, I thought, you have always wanted this. And you know how they ask you as a child, what do you want to be when you grow up? I say, I want to be Oprah, or I want to be a lawyer. Those two things, I'll never forget, Oprah or a lawyer. And Oprah, because I kept telling people the reason I want to be Oprah, I would love, is because she spoke to people. She related closely to people. So I thought Oprah. And then a lawyer also talks for people or fights for their rights or whatever. So it all still felt around humans. But being on TV, I had not thought about the reality of it until when I was in front of the camera. But that day, that voice that I told you that told me you've got to first take that step before you start judging yourself, I took that step. I don't know what happened when I was walking through the studio doors. It's like I left like a proper shading skin situation. I left my skin here. It's like I left my fear right outside the door. Because when they put on the camera, they even had to ask me if I'd never done it before. And truth be told, it was the first time I was standing in front of a camera. So for me, I figured that the reason why I was able to do that is because I didn't follow with the other voice of the fear. I listened to the other subconscious that was giving me the opportunity to figure out if I'm actually afraid or it's just the opportunity that is new to me. So I went on and I did my screen test. That was the first encounter with that level of fear, because beyond that, I think I was younger. I didn't, you know, where you're young and it doesn't faze you, that even fear doesn't faze you that much, unless if it is maybe you're in the dark alone. You know, most young people fear the dark and all, not even just young people, even big people. But I'm saying in terms of the actual fears that would creep into your life, it happens at a certain stage, because below that, there's a way you see life. Those things don't, you know, it could frighten you, but it doesn't really take over and control you. But when you're older, it could captivate, it could take charge of you, and you really have a fear, like you fully blown fear. But what I did is I continued to listen and focus on the things that I like. If I love being in front of the camera, I faced my fear then. I said, no, I'm going to be in front of this camera. I'm going to focus on just that. Now, when it came to the first show that I shot, now that is when the fear kicked in. And the fear that kicked in that time, it was full-blown fear that came even with drums. Omanyi bw'owulira ng'omutima gukukubira buli wamu mu buge yonna ng'owulira totambula ng'owulira tossa. It's because of the fear. And that first show that I was meant to shoot was a show, they were launching something. And that launch, they had invited dignitaries. You had MPs, you had ministers, you had diplomats, you had, you know, and me, Kari, from Kamocha, Gandal Kamocha, I was the one going to go among those people. Chitegeeza, mukama yali ampikinze bw'ati n'angamba, gw'ogenda okukola kino. Ne ngamba nfudde. I remember drinking 4 energy drinks in that night. I walked in and my producer was telling me, are you okay? Meanwhile, I'm there saying no. My heart was pounding in here. And the only reason was because I felt that the people that I was going to talk to interview, were bigger than me. So it almost felt like now, it's almost like, who am I to be among these people? Am I the one going to interview Honorable Minister, Honorable Sujui who, His Excellency, whatever, and I am the one going to interview them? Hey, that's when it occurred to me. After the first, I think, 1 or 2 interviews, I went and sat somewhere. I almost finished an entire can of an energy drink. And then when I the next can that I finished, I realized, but it's not helping me. It's instead, it is causing my heart to race. So the anxiety is even just increasing. So I said, no, let me change, let me drink water. So I needed to find a comfortable place. Let me get myself comfortable. Drink water, find a comfortable place to sit. The producer has already organized the interview, so now it was time for me to breathe. You remember our breathing technique? You people, that thing helps. Even when someone is ticking you off and you are like this, otokotabot. Oh God, Chikola, I don't even lie to you. It works magic. In your nose, hold and breathe, let it go. Even if you intended to throw a punch, you will forget that punch. Let's continue this conversation. So, there are different types of fears. There are fears that are it's like an imagination in your mind. It's like how you'd fear dogs long ago, but the dog you're fearing because it's barking because of the size of it and what you're imagining. The fear is not actual. It's like sometimes how people will just be caught into that wave, that where you're fearing something that actually doesn't even exist. It's not in your path. It's not meant to be part of what you're dealing with. So I feel like for me, fear, I had to start figuring out the root of the fear. What is the root cause of this fear? And that first show that I went to shoot when I told you there were so many dignitaries and I felt very, I had to first figure out what is causing this fear. What is holding me like this? And I realized it's because of where I had come from. I came from a lower side of town, growing up down in Kamocha, trying to figure life out. And suddenly I'm standing in the middle of all this, the rich and powerful people. I felt intimidated. I felt like I wasn't meant to be in that place. And that created the fear. And yet, I had been chosen to be in that place. But because of my past, I felt that I didn't deserve to be in this place. Therefore, it built in some fear. And that's why I started fearing. And let me tell you one thing. That was the first and last time that I ever freaked out at any shoot. And trust me, I've done interviews. The only person I have interviewed is Your Excellency, the President of this country, which is still in pending. His people have not yet spoken to my people, but it's in the pipeline. So yes, from that day, I decided, you know what? I know where the fear is coming from, and I am not going to let that, which was my past, control the future. So that's the first thing. Looking through your life and just thinking all around it and saying, what are my fears? You discover yourself and say, okay, fine, you know your fears. These are your fears. Then you go to the root cause of those fears. What is making me afraid? What creates this fear? And that way, you would be able to then create a formula to face that fear. It is easier said than done. That's very true. Because during all this process, you are not alone. You should not be alone. You should seek help. You should seek help, guidance, even just talking to somebody. Talking to people or to someone that you feel very comfortable with. It can let you open up on things and you discover things and you figure out things together. But you've got to be able to be feeling comfortable before you do that in that space. So, when I faced that fear, I said, no more. I'm not going to get captivated again. Captured by this fear? No. So the next fear that I faced now, still within my career, was going on stage to host, to MC. You're standing on a stage with a sea of humans ahead of you, and you're the one in the spotlight. You're holding this microphone, and remember, it is a show. It's a concert. I remember MCing Wycliffe. Wycliffe came to Kampala and I was MC for that show. Big deal. You're MCing for Wycliffe? How? Then it kicked in again. I said, Nzani again, MCing a show ya Wycliffe Jean. How? But you guys, that's when it hit me again. And I said, when I said, why me? I said, why not you? That was it. I went on the stage and I had a lot of fun. And that is it. Figuring out what your fear is, finding out the source of that fear. Why am I fearing like this? And finding the help and the solutions to that fear. Because let me tell you, there's nothing as bad as being captivated in fear. Like you're in there, you're there. Tentacles have held you, you're not doing anything. It is so, so bad. It is. I've talked to people who have different fears, and sometimes I feel so bad. Like I wish I could carry that fear for them and take it. Because even no matter what you tell them, it's still a long way for them to get out of that shadow. But it's baby steps. The most important thing is you want to take those baby steps. Okay? So while you're thinking about those baby steps and whether you're going to take them and in what direction, let me continue this conversation. Remember, it is Reflections with me, Karitas. Thank you so much. I have invited you into my space, my home. You know, all the knickknacks, the books, yeah, this is my space. I've invited you into my space. So thank you for making it to my space. And we do this every week. We get to have conversations and reflect on them. And I get to reflect on those conversations or those topics, those issues, and also share my insights and my own experiences. Now, the next fear that engulfed me, wait. So of course you mature, you become a big girl, and now it's, you know, the dating life, the dating scene. I was a tomboy for a long time. Tomboy in the sense, I think because I played around with boys for so, like, that was my company, ride bicycles, climb trees, somersault, walk on the hands. There was no ounce of girl in me or female in me until later. Of course, then you grow up, you become a big girl, and then you get into the dating scene. The dating scene, that freaked me out. Sure. Like, and the fear that in the area for dating, the fear was the fear of failure, the fear to let my partner down, the fear, because I felt like if I'm getting into this relationship, it is for Rio. Sibino just come, what, kubatisa, no. Muchiita kubatisa. Kubatisa muti, kubatisa. Can you kubatisa in that? Anyway, we shall talk about that during the season. But it's not, you want to get into a relationship, but there's that fear. I'm like, but am I good enough? Will I be able to live up to that? Will I be able to make my partner happy? Will I be happy? Will I do it for life? Because me, I had read those romance books, Mills and Bones in Sheldon, I had packed up on them, lived a romantic story. And I kept telling my friends that I will have my romantic story. It may not be on a horse and a carriage, but I'll have my romantic story or my story because I will work towards it, I'll put in the work. And that's another conversation. But the fear for being in a relationship for me was very real. And then also I feared that I didn't want anything to end up in the media. I told you, if you hear any noises, it's home, people slamming doors. Anyway, I didn't want it to end up in the media that, oh, my relationship failed, oh, this is what happened. All those fears just held me back, and I took a while to get into a relationship. Like, I worried, I was thinking, but why, but if, but then. That was that fear. And the way I faced that fear, I said, look, I'm carrying weight for two people. Why am I worrying about what he should be worried about? Why am I worried about his weight, his input? He should be worried about his input. I should worry about my input in the relationship. When I realized that, and I said, look, when I'm getting into a relationship, I will give my whole, my 99.9%, so that should it fail, I will not regret it. I will say, nagezako, ngana fumba, ngana longosa, ngana lavinga. You say, mukama chonchikoze, chiganye, nchitadde. But you'll have faced your fear. And I did. And it was the most eye-opening moment for me because I was young, and then being in the limelight, it was a very amazing realization for me in that moment. So fear can prevent you from living your life. Fear can prevent you from attaining your highest possible mark or point or whatever achievement you may call it. So, what is your fear? What do you fear? I was asking, it's a question that I've asked randomly all over. Ask our friends and they'll say, I fear being broke. Okay. I fear taking my wig off. I'm like, wait, your wig? That is fear that is not, like, why would you fear to take off your wig? Like, I feel like there's fear that we create ourselves. We put some pressure on ourselves by creating scenarios that shouldn't even be there. Wig, take it off. Nails, fake nails, take them off. Why do you fear? I fear being without makeup. I said, that's not a real fear. No, that's not a fear. That's something that you can face. But let me remind you, don't let fear take over your life. I love reflecting. I love reflecting with you guys. I mean, I feel like there's so much that I've learned, so much that I've gone through, that I feel sharing, if we share, I feel like we're going to discover a lot of things. Now, what is it that you fear? Do you have a fear that has held you for years? What is it? Talk to me. I've had people who have had incidences in their past. A friend of mine who was a victim of rape, not just her, I mean, I've had many, and it has kept her rooted in that one place. She fears being in relationships. And I told her, look, don't let one man, one incident take away the possibilities of meeting a good person. Not all of them are rapists. There was that bad man that did what he did. But don't let that fear hold you hostage for the rest of your life. There are good men out there. There are people who will think with a good head on them, So it is discovering what keeps you afraid, what is holding you, and then understanding how can I face it. Because once you know what gets that fear in you, you face it. That's it, you face it. You learn, that this is what I fear, this is what causes the fear. If it is fear of your father is always beating you, or your mother, or whatever, you fear them. You fear your parents. Face them. Call for a meeting. Say, Mommy, Daddy, meeting for tomorrow. Let us talk. I want to talk to you. Of course, in our setting, my mother, how? My mother would just look at you and just swallow SLM and continue walking. I would just tell you that there is no way I would have brought that conversation up to my mom. Never. Because in her time, that's how it was done. But now, you have every right to talk to your parents. Tell them, I fear you. You fear your parents. You fear your parents to the point that you cannot talk to them. You cannot be yourself around them. You all can't be good together around each other because you fear your parents. But let me ask you, why do you fear your parents? I think the word you should look for is respect. Because I feel like fear, I fear a lion, I fear something that has so much power over me. My parents? Apana. No, you sit down and talk to the parents with all their respect and say, Mommy, Daddy, wechiti, that is the future we are meant to be heading into, where people talk, not where a parent walks in and everyone disappears. Telling you, our years, those stories are so many. For me, it was just my mom. You'll hear people saying that for us, you would just hear the car at the gate. Okay. What about in a gate? You'd hear the car at the gate and they would run. They would all disappear. Or he opens the front door, everyone runs away and pretends to be sleeping. You're all watching TV, you hear the hoot at the gate, you all disappear. Everyone finds their exit. Why? Why should you be fearing your parent? Fear? That's a huge word for a parent. Respect. You respect them, you obey them, but fear them? I don't see why one would fear their parents. It's just a big word for that situation. So it's all about realizing why do you fear your parents? It's because it's the way she talks. If it's dad, it's the way he'll look at you and he's very, like he looks down on you and it's like, what's the word? That intimidating look that you'll just run away, you'll walk away. I mean, what type of fear is that? It's for your parent. It shouldn't be fear. There's no way. It shouldn't be fear. Your child fears you. They can't talk to you. Who are they going to talk to? Where are they going to go? Where are they going to seek refuge or solace when they need it? Because they fear you. It's about cultivating those relationships that allow us to be as we possibly can. If you feel you fear this, you are able to talk to your parents. If it is in your relationship and you fear your partner, that's another one. Why would I fear my partner? Respect your partner. That's it. So if you feel like you fear your partner, I think you need to face it. You need to sit down with your partner. After you have realized, you first discover what it is that makes you fear them, that creates that fear. Is it the pressure they put on you? Is it the way they speak to you, how they look at you? And when you're done with that, then you face it. Then you go sit down and say, honey, I'm tired of feeling this way. Surely, I fear you. I have this constant fear. When you're showing up, when I hear you arrive, I start panicking. I start wondering I start now trying to organize myself to make you happy, to make sure that we don't have any issue because you've come home, you probably had a bad day, you're like, you always fear the person. If there are relationships that are meant to be the people that you can run to, the shoulders you can lean on, your backbone, your DNA, you shouldn't be fearing these people. The things you should be fearing are the things you have no power over. But also, you shouldn't let that fear take over you. Because I mean, guys, buno obulamu mukama bw'abukuwa abutuwadde. Tetumanyi ddi lwe tugenda. Every different week you hear someone died. The other day I had a friend of mine who I have not heard about or from for years. And then yesterday they tell me he died. I'm like, what? He died? How? In his sleep. I said, what? He died in his sleep? This morning, he died in his sleep? So what I'm trying to say is life is short. Life was given to you, and this life we live once. There's no point in living it in fear. Discover your fear, find out what it is that keeps you rooted there, and then face it. Like I said, fear of parents? Apana. Not in this day and time. The parents we used to fear those days. Now, apana. Now the parents need to talk to their children. They need to, those relationships. That's why we're here reflecting. Nzenga mama narongo. I'm here reflecting with you. Because the future is yours. And there's no point in just going through life like this. Things are just going like that. You're in relationships, you are not happy, you are going. Yeah, we've been married for 10, 20, 30 years, but you have been unhappy, you've been in fear. And you look back, you're like, but wait a minute, 20 years, what have I been doing in this one? Your relationship with your parents, you fear. You become an adult, you're meant to leave home. You're ready to leave home, but because of that fear for your parents, you have gotten nothing from them. They have not guided you, you have not had conversations, you have not had memories, you have not created moments. What is your fear? What is that thing that keeps you sweating and super scared when it happens, when it appears, or when you're faced by it? Let's talk, share. Let's see how we can face that fear. You're not alone. It's Reflections with me, Karitas.